They don't miss you when you leave. They miss you when they realize you're not coming back. And that realization doesn't happen in a flash of anger. It happens slowly, like a rope slipping through their fingers while they pretend it doesn't burn. You didn't just disappear from their life. You became the echo they can't silence. The shadow stitched into every corner of the world they tried to rebuild without you. And now, every step they take, every forced laugh they fake, is haunted by the part of themselves they lost the moment you walked away without a sound. In part 1, we uncovered the first cracks, the denial, the hollow victories, the desperate performances they staged for an audience that stopped watching. But that was only the surface. In part 2, we are going to plunge deeper into the collapse, the hidden implosions, the silent wars raging behind smiling masks, the private nights where all the noise and glitter fail to keep the darkness away. You will see why your true power was never in the words you said or the anger you could have unleashed. It was in the simple, brutal act of letting your absence speak louder than any confrontation ever could. Because here's the savage truth. When you heal in silence, when you thrive in the shadows, when you build a life without their applause or permission, you tear down their illusions one brick at a time. They aren't just losing you, they are losing the version of themselves they only ever saw reflected in your eyes. They are losing the fantasy that they were irreplaceable, necessary, unbreakable. And the more you live, the more you laugh genuinely, the more you move forward without reaching back, the more unbearable that reality becomes for them. Make no mistake, this isn't about revenge. Revenge is petty. This is about survival. This is about mastery. This is about refusing to let betrayal or abandonment define the boundaries of your life. It's about becoming the man who rises so quietly, so relentlessly, that the world that once betrayed him is forced to watch, helpless, as he outgrows their memory. Before we go deeper, act like the man you are becoming. Subscribe to Victory Stoic right now. Like this video if you know silence is not surrender, it is domination. Share it with someone who is still bleeding from wounds they pretend don't hurt. And in the comments, claim your stand in this war. Type, I rise, I reign. Or if you have the courage, share your story, the leaving, the losing, the cold, brutal path of rebuilding without anyone's permission but your own. Thank you for walking this road most will never even dare to start. Thank you for choosing fire over comfort, silence over weakness, mastery over noise. Now let's continue. They broke themselves trying to break you. Let's finish the story they can never rewrite. Number 6. They miss you on the nights no one else can see. They don't miss you during the bright hours of distraction. Not when the city is buzzing, not when the drinks are flowing, not when laughter bounces off the polished walls of crowded rooms. In those moments, they are still actors, still playing the role they scripted for themselves after you disappeared. They still believe they are winning, surviving, moving on. They still believe that noise can drown memory, that faces can replace connection, that hours can bury regret. But when the noise dies down, when the city finally sleeps, when even the shallowest companions drift away, they are left standing alone in the dark, face to face with the absence they can no longer outrun. And that's when they miss you with a savagery no audience will ever witness. Science calls this the rebound of suppressed emotion. Studies in clinical psychology show that emotions pushed down by forced positivity do not disappear. They grow, ferment, and explode in private. Dr. Daniel Wegner's research at Harvard termed it the ironic process theory. The more we try to suppress a thought or emotion, the stronger it becomes when the mind relaxes its guard. And nothing relaxes the mind's guard more brutally than midnight silence. That's when you come rushing back, not by your choice, but by the unstoppable architecture of their own mind. They see you not because they want to, but because they can't help it. They remember the small, unrepeatable moments that no new lover, no new distraction, no forced adventure can replace. The way you laughed without trying, the way you listened when no one else noticed, the way you made them feel human instead of staged. They don't miss your presence. They miss who they were when you believed in them. And that version of themselves is dead now, buried under the rubble of choices they can't take back. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." But what happens when the only thoughts left are haunted ones? What happens when every new morning starts with the bitter taste of memories they cannot revive? They rot inside, quietly, privately, elegantly disintegrating while the world sees only polished smiles and curated feeds. Take Jason, a 41-year-old construction manager from Houston. After losing the woman who stood by him through years of hardship, he dove into work, partying, casual dating. His friends joked about his glow-up. His social media painted the picture of a man living the dream. But alone in his 2-bedroom condo, away from the noise and the neon, Jason would sit at the edge of his bed, scrolling mindlessly, pretending the ache didn't grow sharper with every photo he saw, every song that played from a forgotten playlist. Some nights he would even start to draft a message he knew he would never send. Because pride can delay admission, but it cannot erase longing. The truth is, they don't miss you when people are watching. They miss you when no one else is around to fake it for. They miss you in the quiet, in the cracks between distractions, when their soul, stripped of performance, stands naked before the truth. You are irreplaceable, and they threw you away. Practical application for you: honor the silence. Do not break it. Do not respond to the ghost touches they might send your way late at night. No cryptic texts, no drunken voicemails, no passive-aggressive songs posted online. When you feel their energy pulling at you across the void, sit deeper into your own peace. Build rituals that reinforce your sovereignty. Night walks without your phone, journaling under a single lamp, breathwork that sinks you deeper into your own body and further away from theirs. Create a life so rich with solitude, discipline, and genuine fulfillment that their late-night regrets are answered only by the cold, brutal fact: you are gone and you are not coming back. Seneca said it best: a gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials. Their loneliness is their friction. Their regret is their trial. Your silence is your polish, the slow, relentless burnishing of your spirit into something untouchable. Remember, they do not miss you the way you used to be. They miss the light you shined into the parts of themselves they can no longer find. And that light, that sacred fire, belongs to you now. It feeds your future, it fuels your resurrection. It no longer burns to keep their coldness warm. Let the city sleep. Let the noise die. Let their hollow victories echo into emptiness. You walk forward into the life they will spend the rest of their nights wishing they had the courage to be part of. You are not the memory. You are the fire that kept them alive. And now you are the fire that leaves them to face the darkness alone. Number 7. They still hope you'll return, yet know, deep down, it's only a dream. Long ago, in a forgotten myth, whispered across dying embers, there was a woman who betrayed a man forged by the gods. She believed she could trade his steady light for fleeting flames. Believed she could carve a new destiny without the one who had once held her heart. And when she realized her mistake, she wandered the earth endlessly, clutching at shadows, staring into empty fields where his footsteps once marked the soil. Every star she wished upon burned her instead. Every dream she spun turned into a noose around her own heart. She lived, but each day she lived apart from him was a slow death no funeral could mourn. So it is with them now. They wake with a small, traitorous hope that today will be different, that somehow you'll slip back into their orbit as if nothing had shattered, as if the bridge they set on fire could still bear weight. They check their phones, pretending they're just scrolling, but your absence is the itch they can't scratch. They scroll further, hungry, desperate, for a message, a like, a memory that says you still think of them. They build fragile rituals around imaginary returns, clinging to the idea that if they just wait long enough, endure long enough, pretend hard enough, you will come walking back across the ruins, forgiving, forgetting, foolish enough to love them again. But every day that hope dies a little more. And here is the cruelty. They cannot stop looking. Every gym photo you post, shoulders broader, eyes colder, that sharpness to your frame that only war and loss can carve, pierces them like a blade hidden beneath velvet. Every laugh you share, with real friends, captured in a grainy, candid shot, is another nail in the coffin of the fantasy they are trying so desperately to keep alive. Every post about your new project, your promotion, your unbothered existence, each small victory they once would have celebrated, is now a dagger driven deeper by the terrible knowledge. You are not just surviving, you are rising, and they are not part of it. They will never be part of it again. They see your life expanding while theirs contracts around regret. They tell themselves stories, lies wrapped in silk, about how they don't care, how they've moved on, how their new life is better. But it's the kind of lie that only works in daylight. It crumbles at night when they lie awake, staring at the ceiling, haunted by the memory of your voice, the touch of your hand, the unspoken certainty that they gambled with something priceless and lost it all. Marcus Aurelius, hardened emperor and reluctant philosopher, warned, "Do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about your neighbors. Instead, be concerned with how you may avoid doing what they do." You must hear this clearly now. Their hope is not your burden. Their dreams are not your responsibility. Their grief is not your debt. You owe them nothing, especially not the mercy of walking back into a life you already outgrew. Think of Andrew, a 35-year-old entrepreneur from Michigan. When his long-term partner chose another man, richer, flashier, promising more fireworks than stability, Andrew didn't fight. He didn't rage. He didn't explain. He simply vanished into his work, into his discipline, into a version of himself so ferociously focused that even the betrayal sharpened him instead of breaking him. Months later, after her shiny new world began to tarnish, she reached out, first through mutual friends, then through hesitant likes on old photos, then through a late-night message that said nothing but, "I hope you're doing well." But it was too late. Andrew had moved beyond the reach of regret. His victories were no longer invitations. They were monuments to a man reborn by fire. Every time she saw him now, thriving, smiling without bitterness, standing stronger than ever, she died a little inside. Not because he hated her. He didn't. His indifference was the real blade. Because the cruelest thing you can do to someone who once believed they could break you is to live in a way that proves they never had that power. Practical weapon. Treat their hope like smoke rising from a distant battlefield. You see it, you smell it, but you do not charge back into the flames. You let it drift away on the wind, unnoticed, unanswered. You do not throw breadcrumbs. You do not send mixed signals. You move with clarity and silence. Forward, always forward. You must understand the architecture of their pain. Every step you take forward is a step they cannot follow. Every laugh you laugh without them is an earthquake they cannot stop. Every success you earn without their validation is a wound that no amount of pretending can heal. Stoicism teaches mastery over emotion, but it does not teach cruelty. Feel compassion if you must, real, detached compassion. Understand that their suffering is real. Understand that you once cared for them deeply. But do not, under any circumstance, allow their suffering to slow your ascent. You are not the dream. You are the storm that shattered it. You are not the return they pray for. You are the consequence they must live with. They still hope. They still dream. But you are already gone. And every new sunrise is a quiet funeral for the version of themselves they thought they could keep when they chose to lose you. Leave them to their dreams. You have a life to conquer. Number 8. Their jealousy festers when they see your true happiness because they can't find a flaw to mock. At first they watched you because they were convinced you would stumble. They believed your silence was a mask for suffering, that your discipline was desperation in disguise. They waited for cracks, for hints of weakness, for some small, pathetic signal that you were just another lost soul pretending to be okay. In their minds, your downfall was inevitable. They needed it to be. Because if you survived without them, truly survived, then it would mean everything they told themselves about leaving you was a lie. It would mean they weren't the hero of the story. It would mean they were the villain. But the cracks never came. Instead, you rose, slowly, steadily, without fanfare, without theatrics. You rebuilt yourself in the dark, away from the desperate noise of social media and shallow validation. You didn't post selfies with hollow captions. You didn't cry for attention. You lived, raw, real, ferociously, and the fruits of that labor began to show. You grew stronger, sharper, quieter. Your face carried a new hardness, a new peace, the kind that cannot be faked because it is carved by fire and forged by solitude. And that's when the jealousy took root. Psychologists call this malicious envy, a gnawing, bitter resentment that arises when someone sees another's success as a direct assault on their self-worth. Unlike benign envy, which inspires admiration or motivation, malicious envy seeks to destroy what it cannot have. And nothing fuels it faster than witnessing a happiness that is authentic, unreachable, and utterly indifferent to their existence. The irony is savage. If you had tried to show off, to brag, to wave your victories in their face, they could have dismissed you easily. He's overcompensating, they would have said. She's faking it. Mockery would have been their shield. Pity would have been their weapon. But you gave them no such ammunition. There was no arrogance in your success, no noise, no desperate flexes, just a quiet, relentless expansion of a life that no longer included them. And that silence, that authenticity, was a wound they couldn't stop picking at. Take Michelle, a 37-year-old graphic designer from Portland. After leaving her fiancé for someone she thought was more exciting, she expected him to crumble. She checked his social media in secret, waiting for the sad posts, the messy rebound relationships, the bitter quotes about betrayal. None came. Instead, she saw sporadic glimpses of a man growing leaner, sharper, building a business, traveling alone with a calmness she had never seen before. No captions for attention, no passive-aggressive digs, just life, unfolding, vibrant, and unapologetic. She grew furious, not because he failed, but because he succeeded without asking for her to witness it. She needed him to need her, and he didn't. Every photo he posted was a blade. Every rumor of his success was a silent indictment. Every moment he lived fully was proof she had bet against the wrong soul. Marcus Aurelius, hardened by betrayal at the highest levels of power, understood this dynamic centuries ago. He wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the fate injury." You do not need to stoop to bitterness. You do not need to announce your victories. You simply become something their regrets can no longer touch. Here's the brutal beauty of it. The purer your happiness, the more unbearable it becomes for them. They cannot accuse you of faking it. They cannot catch you slipping. They cannot point to any drama and say, "See, he's still broken." Because you are not performing, you are living. And living well without them is the one thing their ego cannot survive. Practical strategy: starve them. Not with cruelty, not with deliberate exclusion, but with complete, utter indifference. Post less, not more. Share victories quietly, if at all. Cultivate your joy privately, fiercely for yourself, not for their gaze. Let their curiosity rot unanswered. Let their anger fester without target. When they hear about you, it should be from whispers, from glimpses, from stories they have to piece together because you are too far beyond their reach to hand them anything directly. Understand this truth. Real happiness is not loud. Real peace does not parade itself. And it is precisely that quiet, unshakable strength that drives the ones who lost you into a madness they can neither admit nor escape. They will try to diminish you. They will invent reasons why you succeeded: luck, privilege, timing. Because to admit you became this without them is to admit they were never necessary to your greatness. They will look for flaws, search for signs of weakness, and they will find none, because you are no longer fighting for their recognition. You are no longer fighting at all. You are living, and every breath you take outside of their influence is a reminder. You were the sun they thought they could live without. You were the ocean they thought they could cross without drowning. You were the sanctuary they thought they could abandon without consequence. And now they are left clawing at the edges of a life you no longer inhabit, burning with a jealousy that no new lover, no louder party, no bigger promotion can silence. Their anger is not proof you hurt them. Their jealousy is proof you healed yourself. And nothing will ever taste as bitter on their tongues as the happiness they can no longer taint. You walk forward. They watch from the ruins. That is the final sentence, and it needs no words at all. Number 9. The less you reveal, the more your silence torments them. At first, they find comfort in your visibility. As long as you post photos of your meals, your workouts, your travels, they can watch from the shadows, piecing together a narrative that soothes their pride. They can tell themselves stories like, "He's trying to show off. She's just pretending to be happy." Every new post is a crutch they lean on, a thread of connection they can still pull, even if only from a distance. They measure your life against theirs with the fevered anxiety of a gambler watching dice tumble, hoping that somehow you'll stumble, crack, fall just enough to validate the decision they made to leave. But then, you vanish. Not literally, you still exist, but you stop offering pieces of yourself to be consumed. No more endless updates. No more curated glimpses. No more emotional breadcrumbs left scattered across the digital ground for them to pick up and gnaw on in the darkness of their private regret. You shift into a different rhythm, a deeper, quieter frequency. You live, but you do not broadcast. You succeed, but you do not announce. You glow, but you do not explain. And that silence, that invisibility, it drives them insane. Psychologists call this intermittent reinforcement, the most addictive behavioral pattern known. It's the same mechanism that keeps gamblers glued to slot machines, waiting for that next hit of dopamine. They keep checking your profile, refreshing the page, pulling the lever over and over, desperate for a glimpse, a clue, a crack. And when there is nothing, only the cold, polished stone of your silence, they experience a withdrawal far more brutal than any drug. They don't just miss you. They miss the version of you they could monitor, control, diminish. When you stop playing the game, when you stop letting them spy on your healing, you rob them of the illusion of power they desperately cling to. They can't tell themselves you're failing. They can't comfort themselves with the lie that you're pretending. They are left alone with the one thing they fear most, the unknown. Take Laura, a 31-year-old paralegal from Chicago. After walking away from a man she once swore she loved, she lurked for months on his social media, convincing herself that his photos of new cities and new successes were desperate bids for attention. But when he stopped posting altogether, no updates, no announcements, no hints of where he was or who he was with, the narrative collapsed. She found herself scrolling endlessly, refreshing his page like an addict hunting a fix that never came. Her mind, denied new material, began feeding on itself, inventing nightmares. What if he was happier now? What if he had found someone better? What if he was building a life so rich, so full, that he no longer remembered she ever existed? And the truth is, he was. Marcus Aurelius, chronicling his own wars against longing and regret, wrote, "To be like the rock that the waves keep crashing over. It stands unmoved and the raging of the sea falls still around it. Your absence must become that rock. Steadfast, silent, unyielding. Let their curiosity smash against you until it exhausts itself into nothing." Practical weapon. Control your exposure. Audit your social media brutally. Remove anything that feeds the fantasy. They can still know you. Post less, speak less, show less. Not to punish, not to manipulate, but to protect the sanctity of the life you are building. Treat your growth like a sacred fire, not a bonfire for public spectacle, but a forge hidden deep in the mountains where no wandering eyes can find it. When they check your page now, they will find emptiness. No new posts, no smiling selfies, no emotional leaks, only the chilling realization that you are alive, growing, moving, and they have no map to where you are going. This drives a pain deeper than any sharp word or angry farewell could have. It leaves them stuck, endlessly circling a ghost they can no longer grasp. Every scroll is a fresh wound. Every refresh is a prayer unanswered. Every silent page is a mirror reflecting back their deepest fear. You have outgrown not just them, but the need for them to even witness your ascent. Their torment is not that you are gone, it's that they cannot follow. It's that you no longer leave footprints for them to chase. It's that the door they once slammed now leads into an abyss where even their screams cannot find you. Post less. Share less. Live louder in the real world. And let them tear themselves apart, trying to imagine the life they threw away. Number 10. They realize you are no longer a choice. You are the lesson they must carry forever. At first they thought you were replaceable. They thought love was an endless buffet, a revolving door where faces changed, but the thrill stayed the same. They gambled your loyalty for the fleeting rush of something new, something easier, something shinier. They mistook your steadiness for boredom. They mistook your patience for weakness. They mistook your depth for burden, and when they walked away they believed they had traded up, upgraded, moved forward without a scar. But life, brutal and just, does not allow such illusions to live forever. In time, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not even next year, But inevitably, they will wake up to a hollow victory. They will realize that the world they chose is built on sand, not stone. That the faces around them are mirrors, not windows. That the bodies they chase offer heat but no warmth. That the new wealth, the fleeting attention, the endless distractions cannot touch the part of them that still aches for something real. And then it will hit them. You were never just an option. You were the miracle they treated like a convenience. You were the rare thing they believed they could replace. You were the real in a world that worships the fake. This is the deepest cut. Not that you are gone, not that you are thriving, but that they cannot go back. Because even if you forgave them, which you won't, they have already lost the innocence that allowed them to stand in your light without shame. They know now. They know exactly what they destroyed. And they will carry that knowledge like a wound that never fully heals. Psychologists describe this as existential regret, the unique kind of grief not tied to a single mistake, but to the loss of a way of being that cannot be recovered. It's not just regret over losing you, it's regret over the kind of person they could have been if they had valued you when it mattered. Every new relationship will be haunted by the memory of the one who loved without transaction. Every hollow success will be a muted echo of the joy they could have built with you. Every night they stare into the ceiling, alone in a room full of strangers. They will hear the question their pride cannot answer. What would my life have been if I had loved him, loved her the right way? Marcus Aurelius reminds us, loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight. But not all change feels like delight. Some changes are chains, some changes are tombstones. You are no longer a person they can text at midnight, no longer a flame they can reignite when their new world grows cold. You have become a scar they will trace in the dark, a reminder that some opportunities only knock once, and when they are lost forever. And maybe, just maybe, because of what they lost with you, they will love differently next time. Maybe they will see the value in the quiet ones, the loyal ones, the builders, the warriors of heart. Maybe your loss will teach them to cherish the next real soul that crosses their path. Maybe they will finally understand that real love, true connection between souls, is not a commodity, not a currency, not a temporary thrill. But it will never be you again. And that is the sharpest sorrow. The price of their lesson is your absence, forever. Practical reality for you. You do not wait to see if they learn. You do not hope they change. You walk forward, knowing that your worth was never tied to their recognition. You were a gift they were too blind to treasure. You were a chapter they didn't know they were writing until the last page burned. You are not bitterness. You are not revenge. You are the silent, undeniable proof that love without games, without fear, without agenda, is the rarest thing this brutal world has to offer. And now, because of you, they will forever know the cost of mistaking it for anything less. You are the choice. Now, you are the lesson, and they will carry it, quietly, painfully, gratefully, until the end of their days. Conclusion. They thought walking away meant winning. They thought you would become a footnote, a blurred figure in the rearview mirror of their new life. They thought time, distractions, new faces, and louder parties would erase you. But memory does not obey pride. Regret is not cured by noise, and real loss, when it comes wrapped in the quiet dignity of someone who simply refuses to crawl back, stains deeper than betrayal, deeper than anger, deeper than any apology could ever reach. You did not break them with rage. You did not break them with begging. You broke them with silence. You broke them with survival. You broke them with the quiet, steady rebuilding of a life so profound, so unapologetically alive, that they could no longer pretend you were disposable. They now know you were not the lesson they were supposed to teach. You were the lesson they were too foolish to learn. They will live. They will smile for photos. They will celebrate hollow victories. But behind every smile, behind every toast, behind every restless night, your absence echoes louder than any word you could have spoken. They carry you now, not in their hands, but in their bones. Not in their arms, but in the hollow space where something sacred was once held and thoughtlessly dropped. This is the kind of ending no one claps for. No one cheers at funerals for what could have been. But the man or woman who walks away, who rebuilds, who thrives without needing revenge, that person does not need applause. Their existence becomes the final sentence. Their silence becomes the judgment no courtroom could ever deliver. If you found strength in these words, if you recognize the war you are quietly fighting and winning, make it real. Subscribe to Victory Stoic right now. Like this video if you know that real victory needs no announcement. Share it with a brother, a sister, anyone walking through fire who needs to be reminded that survival in silence is its own triumph. And drop your flag in the comments below. Type "I carry the fire." Or if you dare, tell your story, the loss, the silence, the rebuilding, because your story is the proof that heartbreak is not the end. It is the forge. Thank you for listening. Thank you for surviving. Thank you for refusing to let betrayal be the final chapter. You are not their regret anymore. You are your own resurrection. And from here, the only way left is forward.